Hi, it's Alexis, the Avoidant therapist. Today we will discuss about gaslighting, which is very common. It's a buzzword nowadays. But we're going to discuss about the self-gaslighting, especially after a breakup. Because sometimes when we are experiencing a difficult breakup, we are actually our worst enemies, and perhaps right now you're gaslighting yourself, and this is why you have a hard time moving on. This is why you have a hard time dealing with this breakup. So what is self-gaslighting? It's when you start doubting your feelings. When you, for example, you're sad, you're anxious, you're crying, but you feel to yourself like, hey, I shouldn't be like this. I shouldn't allow myself to be crying, to be sad, to be depressed, not being able to work, etc., etc. There's this idea of I need to minimize my own pain should I want to move on. You have to understand that this element of self-gaslighting is because you want to protect yourself against what is perceived as being emotionally overwhelming. So because it's too much to deal with, you're gonna have this sort of narrative in your mind, it's fine, I'm gonna be fine. You sort of bury things out. Also, sometimes reflected by your friends, your family around, you're gonna get over it. It's gonna be okay. You're strong. And you wanna reflect this image. I'm gonna be okay at work, with your friend. It's fine. Especially, that happens usually a few months after a breakup because people are very compassionate after a breakup. But when it's been 2-3 months, people start or stop being very patient, empathetic, listening. They don't want to hear about your breakup anymore. The reason we also create this or we have this self-gaslighting is usually when we have low self-esteem, when we don't respect ourselves. Right? That happens, it's very frequent after a breakup because the person we love the most rejected us. That really impact mechanically our self-esteem. And this is why we want to allow ourselves. We don't want to listen to our body, to our emotions. We just basically gaslight ourselves, telling ourselves lies. A few signs that you are self-gaslighting. Let me know how many of them you can tick. Saying, that wasn't that bad. But actually, that was really bad. And that person really hurt you. Ignoring the red flags during the relationship. You're creating narratives and stories. That was fine. He was okay. He just wanted to see me once a month, but he was busy, etc., etc. Believing you're too sensitive or too dramatic. So, for example, if you are dating someone avoidant, he or she might have told you like, you're too much. It's too much to what you're asking for. You're too needy. You're too clingy. And accepting this idea of like, I'm too sensitive, I'm too dramatic. This idea of rewriting the past, right? I should have, I could have. It's my fault. This idea of over-apologizing. Right? I was, I'm so stupid. It's because of, the thing that I said 6 months ago. And you didn't understand. And from that, you broke up with me. Feeling stuck because you accepted for too long and you didn't snap out of it. So all those things, you see, it depends. Sometimes we stayed in relationships that were not for us, and so we blame ourselves for that. Or we are very hurt, we suffer, but we blame ourselves for that. So it's about recognizing those things. Because none of that will help you heal. None of that will help you move forward. It's by creating the scenarios that are actually going to prolong the pain. The whole point of this video is to explain you how you can heal, how you can move on, how you can learn from this breakup. Because you will learn something from this breakup. Maybe you won't get back your ex. Maybe you will move on. Maybe you'll find an amazing relationship afterwards. But what you can do right now is to learn from this breakup. That's the only thing that matters. So why self-gaslighting happens? So obviously I talk about attachment style and it has an importance in this. When you have insecure attachment style, you create the scenarios, the voices that I described before. And when we break up with someone that was important to us, you create a lot of vulnerability. You reveal yourself. That's why in a lot of cases, people who have secure attachment style, when they date someone avoidant or anxious, that forces their insecurities to resurface. So again, it's about a clash between also the societal norm. what people tell you. You have to be strong. Don't show your emotion. This idea of like, oh no, if I ask for too much, if I rely on my friends, I'm going to come across as needy, as weak. And there's this cognitive dissonance around the balance between the love and focusing on their flaws. I rarely have people calling me when it's very clear that their ex is evil, is a bad person, and they don't want to get back with them. And when you're in a relationship the same way, when you get married, it's a no-brainer. The problem is when you have this cognitive dissonance, when it's complex, when you don't know whether he or she is the right person, whether they can love you, whether you should love them. That's the confusion. That's the problem when we are creating those scenarios, entertaining those scenarios. This confusion, this ambiguity will prolong the healing, as I discussed before. And that's why you're going to have a hard time dealing with the loss and grieving the relationship properly. And so how does it impact healing? I discussed a little bit before. First of all, because you don't acknowledge your emotions. When you go to therapy, the first thing that we do is we unpack the emotions. We try to learn from them. Emotions are just a signal. The point is like, how can I reflect? How can I learn from them? Okay, so emotional regulation, understanding your emotion, that's the first thing. You also delay the closure, because if you stay at the superficial level, let's say you're in no contact, because you heard somewhere, you have to go to contact. I'm not going to point any fingers to anyone. And it's been 6 months. By that time, people who advised you to go to contact would expect you that you moved on, right? But you're watching this video, you're watching other videos, because deep inside, you're thinking there's potentially some hope. And I don't know, maybe there's some hope. But the problem is that you haven't made any progress, emotional progress, right? You're still at the same place, and you fail potentially a chance for self-reflection. Another element is around trust, around confidence. When you are creating those conditions of you being confused, how can you trust your ex? How can you trust your next partner? That's why people have a hard time dating after a breakup. It's because they have a hard time trusting people, right? So that's why it's important to be clear about your expectations, about your boundaries. There's also an element on negative self-talk. So especially if you have an anxious attachment style, is looking at things from, I shouldn't react this way. I should be better than that. I should be stronger, right? The thing again, and the whole point is you should be able to learn from this relationship. That's the only thing that matters. Learn from it, reflect, build that emotional regulation, build that resilience, and then you can assess, then you can get some closure, then you can heal. The problem with gaslighting is that you mix everything, you prevent yourself from feeling really your emotions, from processing your emotions. You're creating narratives that are not helping you to see clearly, to see who you are. You're usually going to have a negative self view of yourself, and that's going to impact the healing process. So how can you stop self-gaslighting yourself? First of all, you validate your emotions. Feelings are real. They're never too much. It's about processing, it's about understanding. What you can do is you can journal your thoughts without judgments, without edits. Automatic writing, very helpful. Identify the self-critical patterns. You can replace with affirmations. Seek support, therapy, trusted friend, just to get like a reality check, just to have someone looking at your blind spots. 5 is focus on what you did right, not just a perceived failure. And 6, allow yourself time to grieve fully without guilt. I will put a link in the description of something that I developed to help you with this process. It's a mini course. Have a look at that. The idea is to go through that process, to have a structure, because I know after a breakup it's very confusing. You don't know where to start. You're in pain. You have friends telling you A, another one telling you B. You have me telling you X, and the other one's telling you Y. It's about having some sort of structure in place, trust the process, and have a sense of progress that will help you to heal. Now, also important is about rewiring your inner narrative. So I talked a lot about the voices. Okay, you have to do the I'm too emotional to my feelings are valid. Okay, it's okay if you miss them. It's okay if you cry in the morning. It's okay if you have a hard time dealing with this breakup. And then it's about the analyzing part, shifting from the emotional part of the brain, system 1 to the system 2 brain. Recognizing the action, reflecting on the relationship. Not just about you, also about them. Understand what you can learn. Any challenge, any failure is an opportunity to learn. It's not the best and the most enjoyable way to learn, but it's always an opportunity to learn. Also, and that's a reminder if you're having a hard time at the moment, healing is not linear. Sometimes we feel like this. Most of the time we feel like this after a breakup. What you have to do, and what I do with my clients, and what I can see with my clients, is that I'm able to zoom out. And when you zoom out, it looks like this. Okay? If you look just one time frame, 1 week, you'll feel I'm not going anywhere. If you zoom out and you look at a longer time frame, it looks like this. Okay, so it's very important to take that time, be kind to yourself, take care of yourself, and recognize also the progress that you're making. That's why it's important to celebrate those small, tiny progress, small, tiny steps. That's why it's important, I think, for me, it's the easiest way. If we were to do 20% of effort to deliver the 80% of effort, it's like having some kind of tiny structure in your life where every single day you do this and that. Because that gives you clarity. Because that's usually what people lack is clarity after those sessions. So the situation. So have a look in the description to get the mini course. And so the aim is to reach self-acceptance. It's about accepting your reality. It's not about dismissing it. And that's the problem, is that this person is neither the best person ever, if I'm referring to your ex, nor the worst person ever. It's complex. He or she made you suffer, but at the same time, yes, you loved him or her, right? It's also important to nurture this element of gratitude, okay? Right now, you don't feel like it, but I can guarantee you in 6 months' time, if you do the work, if you're serious about doing the work, you'll be grateful about this breakup. The other day, I had a chat with a client and she was telling me, that's the best thing that happened to me. Obviously, nobody watching this video would feel the same, but I can guarantee maybe it's not the best thing that happened to you, but you will learn from it. And you, in a way, feel grateful somehow that it happened. You had some form of gratitude about that. Also, so there's this element of mindset, but there's also this element of environment. So the routine, the support network, surrounding yourself with positive people. If you are perfectionist person, accept it's messy, that's why we need structure to make it less messy than it is, but accept that, okay, some days you won't feel great. Some days you get triggered. It's fine, okay? The point is not to see it as like, I need to heal as quickly as possible, because that's also another mistake people make. Because I'm in pain, because I suffer a lot, my obsession is to reduce the time I'll suffer. That's not how you should look at it. This pain might always be there. The intensity of the pain will be different. The point is having the right plan, the right structure to be more proactive. Look at it as a bucket. If you don't do anything, that bucket will be filled with pain, resentment, negative self-talk. Your job is to fill that bucket with the right support network, the self-care, the work that you're doing on yourself, the emotional regulation. So there's no space for negative self-talk. There's no space for resentment. And you can heal quicker. If you have any questions about that, let me know. Have a look in the description to join the course. And I'll see you next time. Take care.